Next up, creating and editing ellipses. I'm going to just get my screen artboard back to fit the window. We are going to use the ellipse tool to make a pair. So if you were previously in the rectangle tool, come over here and use the flyout menu and go down and choose the ellipse tool. We're going to work on the left side of our document here, and we're just going to take our cursor, we're going to click and drag, and we're going to make an ellipse that is approximately 0.6 wide and 0.75 tall. So as we see our tooltips, we're going for a 0.6 wide and a 0.75 tall. Again, don't worry if you can't get this exact, it doesn't matter all that much. All right. Our previous thing that we created had been brown, and I think I've switched away from that because even in the book it's showing up as brown. So I'm just going to take the fill and go back to a brown color so that it sort of matches what you guys are doing as well. Not that it has to be this, I just want to match, oops, I want to match what you guys see. So, okay. We're going to change the color because it's a pair, so it doesn't really matter all that much. All right, after we've created it, remember that without switching tools, we can move this around by using this center widget, even though we're still in our ellipse tool. We don't necessarily have to switch to the selection tool. All right, with this ellipse tool still selected, we're going to move our pointer just below the edge of the ellipse, and when we see that magenta line, we're going to know that we're aligned centered with it. And we're going to click and drag another shape, but we want to do it from the center out. So as we click and drag, we're going to hold the Option key on a Mac or an Alt key on Windows, and we're going to click to drag a circle that is approximately 1 inch. And we'll know it's a circle because we'll get the magenta crosshairs when we get to that point. So again, click, start dragging, hold Option to do it from the center out, and when we get to the width and height of about 1, when we see it with the crosshairs in it, we're going to know that it's exactly right. So it can be 0.99, 0.97, whatever, as long as it's a perfect circle. Let go of your cursor, or I'm sorry, yeah, let go of your mouse, then let go of your Option key. So by using the tooltip and the magenta lines in our smart guides, we were able to know that that was a perfect circle. There's obviously another way to do it, which we'll do next. So this is our pair, and we are going to use our selection tool, and we're going to marquee drag over both pieces to select them both. And then we're going to come over to our properties panel and we're going to group them so that they behave and move as one unit. We're then going to make it pair color. So they're both selected. We're going to come over to our appearance. We're going to click on the fill and you're going to give it a color green that seems pairish to you. This is the one I happen to use. Then deselect this by clicking in a blank spot. Your first click makes that floating window go away. Your second click makes this deselect. We're now going to create 3 perfect circles using the ellipse tool and a keyboard modifier to make it be a perfect circle. So with our ellipse tool, we need to go back and select that again. Make sure you're using the ellipse tool. We are going to press and drag and hold the Shift key while we do that, which is going to keep it in perfect proportion. And when we get to a width and height of about 0.7 inches, we're going to stop. So start dragging, hold Shift to make it perfect. And when we get to approximately 0.7 inches, let go of your mouse, then let go of your Shift key. And we have a perfect circle selected and created for us. With the ellipse tool, still, we're going to move over to the center point here, and when we're at the center point, we want to make an exact copy of this. And all we need to do that is hold down a key modifier. It's Option on a Mac or Alt on a Windows, and then we're going to drag to the right. So be right here in the center, hold down Option or Alt and drag to the right, and we're getting a perfect circle, and we're going to stop when they overlap a little bit. So Option drag or Alt drag will make a copy of whatever is selected. Now we're going to make one more perfect circle, and we're going to move our cursor to the left edge of the leftmost circle. When we get that magenta, we know that we're in the right zone here, and there's the anchor, so there's exactly the left edge. When we get here, we're going to press and drag to the right, and we're going to hold Shift so that it's a perfect circle, and we're going to stop when it's as wide as the two circles. And you will know when you get there when the right magenta line shows up. So when you get to that point, let go of your mouse and then your cursor. If for any reason you aren't seeing these smart guides, I should have mentioned that earlier. Under the View menu, they're right here, and you have to have a check mark. Command U turns them on or off. So if you're not seeing any of those magenta smart guides, make sure they are turned on. All right, we're going to go back here to this ellipse, and with this large circle that we just made still selected, we have our bounding box around it, and we also have a widget hanging off here to the side. And when you hover over it, it kind of looks like Pac-Man. This is our pie widget. We're going to click this and drag it counterclockwise, and it doesn't matter how far we stop. I'm going to go about right there, and I'm going to show you what it does. We now have a start point and an end point in our pie widget. So that cuts out and takes away. So perhaps you wanted a Pac-Man type shape. This is a great way to do it. Maybe you want just the lower half of a circle. There's also a way of doing that. So because I said it didn't matter where you stopped with this end widget, I'm going to show you where you can specifically change that to a number. So in our Properties panel, up here in the Transform, in the More dots, 1, 2, 3, we see that we do have a pie widget here. And what we first need to do is we're going to choose 180 degrees from our start angle. 180. Notice that the other one is at 0 by default, and we're going to hit return. We could have done that. We easily could have kept pulling that over to the 180 mark. Our smart guide would have shown us when we got there. But I just want you to know that in the Transform menu, in the More option, you can change your starting and ending pie points. Escape will get you out of this floating panel, or just clicking away from it. All right, now what we want to do is we want to move our cursor over what was the center of the circle. It's still this center point. And we're going to use that to use it to move, and we're going to bring it up. And we're going to wait for our alignment to be horizontal and vertically centered. And when we do that, we're going to see intersect. And we're going to see our magenta lines horizontally and vertically, and we can let go. And you can tell that we've now made an apple. So the first thing we want to do is switch over to our selection tool, and then we're going to marquee drag over all three pieces. And now you see the underlying shapes. Remember, I'm talking about how Illustrator is shape building and stacking, and then grouping together and sometimes even merging shapes. So this is a lot easier to draw than using the pen tool and going all the way around the outside with anchor points. We are going to learn the pen tool very soon, but when you know that by using shapes and building them together, you can achieve what you're looking for faster, you may appreciate shape building. All right, with all three shapes selected, let's come over to the fill and let's choose a red color to make our apple red. The one that they used in the book was not this bright red that I just used. It was this darker one, 15, 100, 90, and 10. So if you want to follow along with the book, this darker version of red is the one that they used. All right, what we want to do now is we would like to make an orange soon, and we're going to do that by creating a copy of this half circle that we just made. So click in an empty area of the artboard, first to get out of that window and then to deselect our apple. And then we're going to click on this lower piece, and we are going to Option drag to make a copy of it. So hold Option and drag down, and we now have a copy of that half circle that we're going to use in the future to make an orange, just not right away. So when you get to that point, we can click away to deselect. Changing the stroke width and alignment. So far in this lesson, you've mostly edited the fill of shapes. We haven't done too much to the stroke, apart from we've removed them. We haven't really changed them much. Strokes are visible outlines or borders of an object or a path, and we can easily change the color of a stroke or the weight of the stroke to make it thicker or thinner. So we're going to do that. We're going to take our selection tool, and we're going to click to select the smaller rectangle that is the bottom of our fruit bowl, and we're going to zoom in. So Command or Control plus to zoom into this point. Over in our Properties panel, we're going to see the word stroke, and it's underlined. Whenever you have a word that's underlined, that means that you can click on it also to get to more information. So we're going to actually click on the word stroke, and in this panel, we're going to change the stroke weight of this selected rectangle to be 2, and then we're going to choose the alignment. So I'm going to hit Tab. Once we have a weight on it, we have other options that show up. So if this were just an open path, like a line, how that last endpoint, starting and endpoint looks, you can control with these buttons. How corners look, if they're mitered, round, or bevel joint, and how we align strokes. Is it aligned to the center of the stroke, which you can see this one is. Our blue outline is the actual shape, and our 2-point stroke is aligned center. So 1 point is above it, 1 point is inside the shape. We could switch to align the stroke to the inside. Notice now that all 2 points are on the inside of our blue outline, or we could switch align to the outside. Notice now how all 2 points are on the outside. The one that we want to choose is align stroke to the inside. So choose that option. Aligning a stroke to the inside of a shape can be a great way to ensure that the stroke doesn't overlap the shape above. So we can see how it didn't bleed into this other shape above. All right, we're going to click on the stroke color box, and we're going to make sure, stroke right here, sorry, and we're going to make sure that we are in the swatches, which we are, and we're going to select a lighter brown. So rather than that dark black outline, you guys go ahead and pick a lighter brown color. And when you're done, we're going to click away to close the window, click away to deselect. And we're going to do a file. We're going to stop here. So File, Save As, and we are on page 97. And you can save at that point, and we will move on to creating polygons next.